Time. It is 10 a.m. on the dot. And you know what that means for a Tuesday? That means it's time for trybean on the 10 spot. And we're back. We're here with you live right now. So, we got another interesting conversation. It's kind of fun to have a really long presentation deck because there's material for days, people. And I'm not sure why I decided to go through every single slide in this deck, or when I even made that decision. Because last week, I think we got through like three, maybe four slides. But that's cool. It was good information. And so we've been continuing this series on how to get better results from networking. And today we're jumping into how to actually work a networking event, right? You've all been there, you've gone to these events, and sometimes you get like you're in your happy place and you're meeting some cool people and some opportunities are flowing. And other times, check this if it's true, other times you're like, man, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to meet new people. I don't want any of it. So, we're going to try and dissuade you from some of that fear because, as you may recall, the number one rule for networking is show up. So, we're going to try and give you some tips, some tricks, some big ideas that you can use to maximize your next networking event. I did my Clifton Strength Finder the other day. Thank you again, Jane McCarthy. Maximizer was one of my strengths. Maximizer sounds like a battery, right? Like I'm a battery. And you know what? Maybe I am. I got some energy. I will share it with you today. So I'm going to head over and do the present thing so you can see the deck because, visual aids are cool and people like visual aids. So I'm going to select this little tab to share. It's shared. I'm going to hit this present mode so you can actually see it in living color. And then a little tiny Terry. So that's all good. And that doesn't look like present mode, but whatever. What if I hit full screen? That's not full screen. That's the opposite. Huh, weird. So present full screen. That's what I was looking for. La-di-da. It's fine. It's fine. We're just fine. Did you guys ever see the video of Pink watching people do Pink covers? The first one is this amazing rendition of one of her songs by a young lady named Davina. And Pink's like, this sounds better than I will ever sound singing this song. And at one point, she's doing this, like wiping the negative energy off her. And she gets done. And they're like, what'd you think? And she's like, it was fine. she, she was clearly blown away the entire time. It's fine. I love that. Anyway, let's get into this because this is what we're here talking about. And if you've ever seen the write ups for these, you'll see this exact phrase: the better we all get at networking, the better all of our networking will be. That's why I started doing this training 16 years ago or whenever it was back in the Motor City Connect days, because I got so tired of watching people network poorly and realizing that these are the people in my network. How's this going to help me? Right. So if I can help them get better, it'll help the people that are around us do better. And then ultimately we can all be better. Fun, right? So, without further ado, let's jump into how to work this event. There's your buddy Terry right there. Nice head of hair you got there, Scalpy. Anyway, that's enough of that talk. Let's take a look. Before you even get to the event, if you can, do yourself a favor and check the guest list. See who's there that might be of interest. You can kind of go through and go, hey, look, senior business developer, managing business director, vice president, sales America, manager auto accounts. See who's there, and then make a list of the 2 or 3 people that you know you want to talk to, and do your best to strategize how you're going to talk to them. Know what you want to say when you get the chance. What's your ask, right? We covered that in the last video. How do you ask? Why do you ask? What do you ask for? So do that is a wonderful step one. Now we're at the event. Boom, you're there. And so, my next piece of advice for finding the people that you want to talk to, and we already went through the target markets, the target clients, the target partners, right? Those are the people that your targets are the people you want to talk to. So, if you can, find the host, talk to the host, tell them who you're looking to meet and what you're looking to achieve. And if they're not busy, and that's a big if because they're the host, if they're not busy, they will be happy to introduce you to those people. Why? Because they're hosting a networking event and they recognize that the success of a networking event is the connections that are made. And if they went out of their way to host a networking event, they know most of the people that are on the list because they invited them. Makes sense, right? So talk to the host. It's in their best interest to help you achieve your goals, and they'll be excited to do it. So, again, recognize that they're busy. They may not have time to do this, but if you can, do it. And if nothing else, just thank them for putting on an event. Y'all don't realize what a truly thankless job that is, putting on an event where 15 to 30 people show up, and what a pain in the butt it is to get people to actually show up. I'm not talking about structured networking like a BNI or similar. I'm talking about rando kind of events where it's almost like an open cattle call. It's work to get people to show up. So at least thank them for the efforts. All right. The next person you want to talk to is the connector in the room. And the connectors in the room are usually really easy to spot. Why? Because they're the ones that look like they're holding court. They're standing there, people are around them, listening, normally laughing and having a good time. If my friend Tonya Aka was here, she would tell you a lot of times they're going to be the ones in bright colored clothing. They're going to be the ones that kind of stand out in the room because their energy is different than other people's. They're rarely going to be the wallflower. They're going to be the ones that are the center of attention, and they kind of relish it. It's almost like it's a personality type. The reason you want to talk to the connector is because they know the people in the room. They're the connector. They know the folks, right? So in their name is the word connect. So they're going to be willing to make connections for you. So same approach as you would with the host. You want to tell them specifically who you're looking for. And then they may say, you could ask, hey, will you point so and so out to me? Or you can ask, would you mind making an introduction for me? And they're happy to do it because the connector realizes that connecting two people is the best way to get two people talking about you when you're nowhere around. Why? Because one of the first questions that's normally asked is, how do you know so and so? Well, I met them back then. Oh, how do you know them? Well, I've known them for 4 years. We worked together flipping burgers. That's probably not what happened, but you get the gist. So that's the connector. So find them, ask them. They are generally, unless they're in a bad mood, they're generally happy to help. Fun thing about connectors, they don't normally show up to events like this if they're in a bad mood because they know that their energy matters. All right. This is an important point. So often we get so focused, so dialed into what we're doing that we might walk right past a great opportunity for us because we're heads locked on somebody on the other side of the room. Meanwhile, the person that we really, really wanted to talk to, we just bumped into casually and spilled their drink. Maybe not. The serendipity piece is powerful. And here's why it's true. Because of the fact that you took the time to show up to the event, it's likely, like almost highly likely, that the person that you were looking to meet also took the time to show up to the event. The universe works that way. And it's really kind of cool. I had an event years and years ago, Motor City Connect co hosted John Assaraf. the guy from The Secret. He just runs a bunch of different camps on brain study and how do you inner size, right? How do you inner size your mind to elevate your mindset? Cool, dude. Follow John Assaraf. If you're not, when we had this event, 2008, 2009 time frame, John was just off the hot movie The Secret. I expected the room to be filled with 300 eager beavers waiting to learn. That was not exactly what happened. We had about 190 eager beavers waiting to learn. And I remember being up in front on the stage near John and apologizing to John. And he's like, "For what?" And I'm like, "Man, I wanted this room full for you, dude." And he's like, "You," and he put his hand right on my heart. And it was so cute. He put his hand on my heart and he said, "You need to trust that the right people always show up." And it was that lesson that set me on the observation path of recognizing how often people would do their ask in a Motor City Connect event, and somebody across the room would be like, "I'm that person," or "That's my brother," or "I know that person exceedingly well." This is why it's so important to be specific with your ask, people. All that said, allow for serendipity to happen. Don't be so focused on your one, two, or three goals that you pass by the thing that you actually went there for and you didn't even know it. So, good times. Couple of other things you want to do in terms of being memorable at the event. Uh, it's important to know how to enter a conversation, right? It's important to know how to leave a conversation. It's important to know what to talk about while you're there. And then I'm going to share this last tip that's going to help you be the best conversationalist ever. So here you go. How do you enter a conversation? It's really weird when we walk into a networking event, there's all these people in there. They all look like they're having a great time. They've been friends for life, and you're walking in like an outsider, like, "God, I don't know anybody. Why am I even here?" You need to be able to rewind like 10 minutes before you walked in to be able to see how those groups came together. And oftentimes it's not necessarily people that know each other at all. They're people that just met and started talking. My best tip for entering a conversation is if you see a group of two or three or four people standing talking that look like people you want to talk to, walk up, go stand by them and wait. And what's going to happen is somebody sooner or later is going to say, "Hey, how are you? Who are you?" Whatever. And at that point, you get to introduce yourself. Now, it is a very rare occasion that someone may say, "I'm sorry, this is a private conversation." Odd that that would happen at a networking event, but it could. And so you excuse yourself and go stand somewhere else, go find a different group. But oftentimes, it's the easiest thing to just walk up right to them, stand, wait, and be ready to introduce yourself. Or if you hear something that you can add to the story or the conversation, interject. It's an open discussion. So be open about it. When it's time to leave the conversation, a little different time. And maybe you need to leave because you literally need to leave, or maybe you need to leave because you are bored to tears with what you're discussing. So there's ways to do this, and some of them are good and some of them are bad. I'm going to skip to the one that I use most frequently, and it is to introduce that person to someone else that you know will be a good fit for them. Just take the time, walk them over and say, "Hey, I want to introduce you to so and so because I think it would be a good conversation for you to have about XYZ." That is the single best way to leave a conversation. And again, you go back to having those two people talk about you when you're nowhere around. As far as topics to discuss, there's a bunch, man. You can talk about business. You can talk about how you stay current. You can talk about where you are. You can talk about the people around you if you're edifying them, not tearing them down, right? If we're building people up, great conversation. Talking shit about people, lousy conversation at a networking event. Small room travels fast. So don't do that. I still tell people to avoid politics. I do like the idea of avoiding religion. You don't want to be divisive. You want to be inclusive. right? Super important to think about things that matter. You can talk about the weather, you can talk about sports, you can talk about food, right? Things that people all relate to and experience. But what I really appreciate when people are talking about is their unique spin on the business climate or their business, whichever the case may be. Because if you can do those things effectively, now you're planting seeds. Talk about who you serve or how you've helped them. That is helpful. Talk about people that you know. Even better, this last tip is let other people talk first, right? There's a section on after you networking. We already covered it. So I'm going to re-hit it though, because this is a different video. When you let someone else speak before you learn exactly how to relate your conversation to their world. Now you can talk about people that you know that they may want to know, and you can find some cool opportunities to give, right? The idea of giving first is always very beneficial in networking. You want to make that jump. So do that, and that'll help dictate what conversations you want to discuss later. And I'm going to wrap this up with this single most important networking question you can ask. It comes from my friend Bob Berg. Bob is a legendary referral guy. Endless Referrals was one of his first books. My favorite book, How to Win Without Intimidation, came from him. My favorite Bob Berg book, anyway. It's a pretty good book. And then the Go Giver series just sent him and John David Mann, his co-author, through the roof. And it is important to Bob to note that John David Mann is the co-author. So consider it noted, Bob. That being said, this question I learned 25 years ago, and every time I've asked it, it's been amazing to see the results. And the question is this: how would I know if someone I am speaking to would be a good referral opportunity for you? And darn near every time I've asked that question: how would I know if someone I am speaking to would be a good referral opportunity for you? I would meet that person they described within the next four people I talked to. I could walk them over by the hand, introduce them, boom, magic happens. That's the magic. It's the money shot, kids. Get it. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to come back over here. Here I am right here. I'm going to say hi, and then I'm going to say bye. Look at this. Free words of wisdom. Ho, ho, ho. Yoda, baby. That dude is sharp, smart. Yoda wisdom. So, anyway, I will see you, some of you anyway, next Tuesday, oddly enough, at 10 a.m. I can't wait. We're going to keep going through this deck unless somebody wants to hear something else, but this is good intel. See you soon. Please use this for your and your network's advantage. Be well.